Some final thoughts on the season for Michigan and Michigan State. I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of for either of these teams. Both were bounced when they should have been bounced and the way they should have been bounced. Michigan, you play sloppy all year. Turnovers in the first half, into the second half, 15 of them. Auburn's going to pounce. They were the number 1 overall seed. For MSU, what was the thing we said? A cold shooting night against the wrong team. That was how they were going to lose. So I don't think there's any shame, but I am curious if you're satisfied with your team's season, how you feel about the way they played this year and this weekend. 248-539-9797.
I don't think anybody should be ashamed of either team. And Michigan made it way farther from the way they started the season, or let's go back even further, from where they ended last year. The hiring of Dusty May, the revamping, restaffing of the roster, and to where they were now and getting to the Sweet 16, huge victory. For Michigan State, it was kind of similar where you have a team that starts the season not in anybody's top 25, and you end up in the Elite Eight, and you lose to the number 1 overall team in the country. I mean, it would have been nice to win, sure. Could they have won? Yes. But they were going to have to do some things, much like Michigan was going to have to continue to do things that they hadn't done all season long. The well was eventually going to go dry. The well went dry for Michigan State because they just weren't a great shooting team. Defense was the thing that kept them in it all the way to the end. But that 17-0 run, I mean, that was insurmountable. They were never able to recover. They were able to get within 8, but then Auburn just taped, okay, thanks. And they kept them at arm's length.
We've seen MSU overcome double-digit deficits. They did against Ole Miss. That 17-0 run was curtains. Would have liked to see Tom take a timeout during that stretch. Would have liked to see Jace Richardson get back into the game. He left when it was 10-8. He came back and it was 23-8. And you're right. From there, it just kind of stayed at about 8, 10, 12 points. They get it down to 8, and then it bloomed back up. And MSU was, look, you shoot that way against a team like that, your season's over. And maybe you're at peace with it because that was always the Achilles heel of this basketball team. I don't think you're thrilled falling short of a Final Four, right? Michigan State's program's built on getting to the Final Four. Tom Izzo's legacy is Final Fours and more.
Yeah.
But you let us know. 248-539-9797. We'll get some ticket text in the mix on it.
I mean, to me, first off, this is a team in the preseason that got 0 votes in the AP poll. Not top. They weren't top 25. They weren't top 44 in the AP poll. So they significantly overachieved. And I thought talk of going into the tournament with them expecting them to get to the Final Four was a little unfair to them, and it was because of who was there. Like we thought, Selection Sunday, so it was St. Patty's Day after. We broke down the bracket, and there was a clear 4, right? And that held true. I mean, like I don't understand how State fans could be upset with what happened yesterday because clearly the number 1 overall seed in the tournament had another gear. They showed it against Michigan, and they took it to State. And State always fell in holes earlier this year. It was one of their knocks other than the 3-point shooting. It's actually kind of miraculous what they did. It shows how good of a team they are minus 3-point shooting because to end up where they ended up with 31% 3-point shooting throughout a season is kind of a miracle in today's basketball. The 3 is more important than it's ever been. And it's like if they could have shot 35%, what would they have been this year? I mean, seriously. Yesterday could have been a game potentially if they had knocked down a few threes.
They knocked down a couple threes. They hang in. I think the other issue, though, was MSU's defense was their calling card, but there's no answer for the size of Auburn, right? Like, Janai Broome is a problem. He was a problem for Michigan on Friday. He was a problem for Michigan State on Sunday. Even if State goes shot for shot, I think their ability to turn teams over and shut teams down for 4 or 5 minutes, Auburn had the answer to that. You weren't going to go 4 or 5 minutes without Auburn scoring because they could go down to the low block and the low post, and there was no answers. I mean, Izzo said before the game he was going to play Zapawa and Booker. Booker didn't play. Zapawa did. It didn't matter.
Well, some people criticize Izzo for not going to the press earlier in the second half because of how it worked. Well, you don't know if that over time, usually teams can figure out how to break a press, especially a talented team like them. Auburn was struggling with it, but I mean, exactly what you said, Jim. I'm sitting there and I'm like, State is giving up way too many easy baskets. Like in that lull there between the 12-minute mark and like 7-minute mark of the second half, It's every time State needed a stop, they couldn't get it, and the game would go back to a 10-point lead. They could never claw their way because they were playing one of the power teams, and it finally caught into them. I mean, anybody that watched both those games Friday, I mean, Auburn, wow. And guess what? They have the 4th worst odds to win it. That team's the 4th best team in college basketball.
There does look like there's a clear hierarchy at the top. And it's our first time we've had 1 seed since 2008, all 1 seeds in the Final Four.
Yeah.
I think anybody who watched their team play this week, and this is Michigan and Michigan State fans, would say, yeah, Auburn was a cut above. Our team had flaws, weren't going to win against a team like Auburn. And it's why I would ask Spartan fans today, are we going to still claim that we would rather have played Auburn? Because there was a lot of, I'm indifferent to who we play, or I'd actually rather play Auburn because Michigan fans are loud and obnoxious. Okay, would you rather have played Michigan or Auburn? I hope we can put that to bed today. I hope we're not still doing that routine.
I'm not going to play Monday morning quarterback and say, oh, well, because we lost, I would have rather played the easier team. And going into it, Michigan State fans all said, and they all agreed, would Michigan be an easier path? Yes. But a lot of them were okay with playing Auburn because they wanted a chance at the big dog.
Well,
you get bit. And I agree with that. I said it last week. If I was Michigan State, I'd want to play the big dog. We've already dispatched to Michigan twice.
Even after seeing it,
I'm not going to go back and say, "Oh well, I'm going to change my mind."
But it's
now.
not in hindsight. We had the conversation ahead of time. Like, sure,
and I said what I said.
Congrats, you get toughness points for playing the best team, and your season ends. Congrats, you got to play the toughest road. You know who cares? Nobody.
Okay.
UConn won a national title beating 5 seeds. Do you think they're going to only half the banner hangs? MSU's on a 25-year drought. They should have rather played Michigan. Clearly. There's no need to fight about it. There's no need to be stubborn about it and go, well, we were the tough team. We would have played anybody anytime. You want the path that gives you the best chance to win the title. There's no shame in it. And to stick to it after watching Auburn play is nonsense. Greg, you look like you have something to say.
They don't have any agency over who they play. You don't get to schedule your Elite Eight opponents.
Right.
I'm sure they would have liked to play Western Kentucky to go to the Final Four.
Sure. Yeah. But that didn't happen, did it? Did they get a chance to play Michigan again?
No.
The question was who you
they had
wanted
to play
to
Auburn.
play. And this is what you wanted. MSU fans wanted
yes,
that.
Yes, in this hypothetical world, sure.
They wanted that.
And so if you think if they all said, oh, well, we would much rather play Michigan. Yes, we want to play them a third time. That they would have played somebody different yesterday?
No, it's just a question of, are you willing to own up to, yeah, Auburn was a really bad draw for MSU. That's a team you didn't want to play.
I think when we saw their seeding,
yeah,
too, and they were in Auburn's, portion of the bracket. Everybody said, "Oh yeah, that's going to be a tough game." And then if they won that one, oh, you get a chance to play Florida.
Did Jim say it was going to be a tough game? Oh, they've lost 3 of their last 4. Ooh, easy draw for MSU.
The point was, if you're given a choice, Auburn or Michigan, we had people say they would rather play Auburn. So you get what you wanted, and I hope you're happy with it. 248-539-9797. The rest of us looked at it and said, yeah, it would have been a better matchup to play Michigan, and you're probably still playing. Izzo's in his 9th Final Four. And you see what happens. You live to fight another day. Anyway, observations, 248-539-9797. Are you satisfied with your season? It's weird to say. Nobody likes when your season ends. But both these teams overachieved. MSU got 1 round further. They were the better team. What do you think? 97-1.